Welcome to the Sunday service at CSLN. We are a welcoming and inclusive community of inspired individuals caring for and about each other and the entire planetary family. The Center for Spiritual Living Nashville offers spiritual tools for anyone seeking a more fulfilled and meaningful life through a deeper connection with a higher power or universal truths. Be sure to subscribe below if you enjoy our programs. Now let's join today's service.
Good morning.
I grew up afraid of my daddy, and he was scared of his father, so I've heard. Seems I come from a long line of angry men, so quick with a discouraging word. I could let it go on like father, like son, but now I got kids of my own, and it's all in my hands. It's up to me. It's time to start a brand new legacy. I wanna look back someday, knowing that while I was here, I did my part to break the chain of fear. Well, Granddaddy passed down his anger from a life of frustration and pain, and Daddy didn't know any better, so he became one more link in the chain. I wanna turn all that darkness to patience and love. Let my kids feel how special they are. So it's all in my hands. It's up to me. It's time to start a brand new legacy. I wanna look back someday, knowing that while I was here, I did my part to break the chain of fear. I still carry those scars somewhere in my heart, but it's time to forgive and move on, 'cause it's all in my hands. It's up to me, yeah. It's time to start a brand new legacy. I wanna look back someday, knowing that while I was here, I did my part to break the
This reading is from the Science of Mind book by Ernest Holmes. We know that the law of this being is perfect, and there is no obstruction to its operation. We now let go of everything and enter into the completion of peace and good and truth and beauty. We are conscious that God is all there is. There is nothing else. We are certain that the spirit of reality is our spirit, flows into spirit.
Thank you, Dottie. That was lovely. We're having a little technical difficulties, so bear with us just for a little bit. And now I'm very excited and thrilled to introduce our speaker this morning. He's no stranger to CSLN. He was an active member of this center for 18 years, serving on the board, and for 7 years as part of the ministerial staff. He served 6 years as president of Divine Science, the Federation International, and was elected president of the International New Thought Alliance in July of this year. Many of you may remember that our speaker today taught the new member classes here for 7 years. He is here today to talk about the power of purpose. Please welcome Reverend Dr. Tim Stewart.
Good morning. It is so good to be here, and I'm going to give them a chance to make sure they have the microphone I'm wearing on and this one off, so we're all clear for me to move that to the side. That's good. Thank you. It is always an honor and a privilege for me to be in this place and among these people. Even though today the crowd is smaller, I know that there are those of you who are seeing us in your homes. And my title today is The Power of Purpose. In starting that, I have to give some credit to J. Scott Neal. Many of you may know that name, but he and I have become very close friends. And the other day, about the time I was getting a call to be asked to speak here, I was looking at some books. I had The Power of Decision, and I had The Power of Positive Purpose, and The Power of Silence, which is a Horatio Dresser book. And I looked at those, and I picked up Jay's book, and there was so much there that I have to give him some credit today, because a lot of what you're going to hear, I was inspired by him. But I have to start with something else, and that is a little story that involves my wife and her mother. You see, my wife and her mother had this wonderfully close relationship. Now, when I came into the picture 22 years ago, my mother-in-law was already having some health issues, and, well, I didn't get to really know her as well as I would like. But I know she was an amazing lady. And my wife, in her desire to have something to really know and remember her mother by, had given her a small book. And that book had numerous questions in it. And my wife gave it to her as a present, and she didn't see it anymore until after my mother-in-law had made her transition. And as my wife opened the book, the only thing that I recall of her talking about my mother-in-law's answers, there was one in there, and it says, "When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grow up?" Now, bear in mind, this is an 80-year-old woman answering this question. When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? And her answer was, "I haven't made up my mind yet." Okay. My mother-in-law was a very, very intelligent woman. And we can have all the things we want to say about that answer. I believe that was her just showing some of her humor and her personality, that she always believed there was a new adventure there. There was definitely, and I have to, in bringing her up, I have to give her a little honor. She definitely knew the power of purpose more than most today, because she imparted a sense of love and of being love and of respecting others and honoring all of life. She imparted that to my wife, to her brother. So she has an amazing legacy in that. And she imparted to them service, because she was always very active in the little Presbyterian church there. But when I speak about the power of purpose, that's what I'm talking about. The power of love, not necessarily what we may do in life. Because you see, everyone, and those of you who have, I know we have a couple of ministers in the room today, people always have the question, what is my purpose? Who am I? What am I? What's my purpose? I think every member of humanity asks that question at some time. And if you look at the great writings and teachings of those who have come before us, you can find something for an answer in there. But I think the real answer comes when we accept universal principles and laws, and those become part of us, and we learn to turn to our inner selves. As I tell people, you're never going to find out very much about yourself if you're constantly looking out there to something that's an anthropomorphized vision of what we call God or Spirit. But instead, if we turn inward and we ask ourselves, what do I do when I feel most loved? What do I do when I'm best expressing love? What gives me joy in life? I think we're more likely to find those answers, because the answers will come to us from that inner knowing that is Spirit operating in us, through us, and for us. Now, there is that about trusting God and letting go. We do sometimes have a tendency to want to hold on and try to force things to happen our way. I can't see those watching from home to raise your hand, but this would be about the time I'd say, if you've ever felt that, raise your hand, and most everyone would go up. And yet, if you've studied the teachings that are part of this center, you know that you don't try to force something to happen your way. You simply know the end from the beginning. And you have to trust that God, that Spirit, is making everything unfold in such a way that that is your good that you desired. It's already yours, and it will unfold in a perfect fashion. So, what you do is not necessarily your purpose in life. Understand that what you're doing is not necessarily your purpose in life. If I go back to the example of my mother-in-law, she had jobs in a sewing store and some other things, but I believe her purpose in life was to express love, to be that love, and to share that with others. So if you're going to, if you would, some questions that you can ask yourself to help you get to that point where it becomes natural to let Spirit flow and to express that. The first has to do with how we look at ourselves. How do we look at ourselves? Because today most people, if they're in any kind of a situation where they're a counselor, you'll find that most issues that people come up with have to do with their own self-image and self-esteem and self-respect. And if you get those in alignment, so many other things fall into line. So the question is, do you know yourself as an individualization formed by circumstances and conditions around you? Or do you know yourself as Spirit individualized? Do you know yourself by being formed by what formed around you? Perhaps the experiences you had in childhood. And we all had them. We all had them, and if we don't make a decision to do something and live differently and say that what happened to me is not who I am, then we live in those experiences of childhood. I had no idea that Gordon was going to sing the song that he did today about a father passing on anger and fear and breaking that cycle. Many people have experienced that, and it is a conscious choice that says, I am not what happened to me, and I am greater than anything that's happened to me. And that is the beginning of learning our purpose. We can look at relationships, and there I speak of relationships past, and people who believe that this has always been their pattern and that they're locked into it. Again, it's a pattern that can be broken. Habits, precedent of what's been in the past and past failures. Some people get that and they get this consciousness of victimhood. Some belief that somehow things are conspiring against them. I think of one of the quotes that I use sometimes from Melinda Kramer, which said, if you believe that you've got to have difficulty and a hard time along your journey in life, know that you are the one creating the difficulty. Think about that for a moment. If you believe that, if you accept these things that are circumstances and conditions as being something that is in some way attached to you, you will create those same conditions and circumstances over and over again. So remember that it's nothing that's ever been done to you, but also nothing that's ever been done by you. All right? Because if it's done to you, you have the anger. If it's done by you, you can carry the guilt. And it's time to unload both of those, to let those things go and begin to find something else. That includes people who look today in the middle of this pandemic. And I have to mention this because it wasn't something I put in my notes, but this morning I thought of it so much on the way over here. We could look at conditions of that, and this broadcast wouldn't be going out this morning. I have a dear friend of mine named Darrell Watkins who has a church called Sunshine Cathedral down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And many people, when one of our church members moved down there, I told him, I said, go check them out, and he's been, and I've sent several people there. But he had a congregation of between 400 to 600 on Sunday mornings. Easter and Christmas, the big holidays for church, he might have 1,000 and have to do 2 services. But the thing is, he saw an opportunity, and this was not something that it was planned because of the pandemic, but he knew his church needed to go into a more online setting, that they needed to reach further than just their neighborhood. Those of you who are in this building today who are part of the board, and I can remember back years ago when I sat on the board, we talked about increasing our online presence. And sometimes we are pulled by our vision, and sometimes we are pushed by our discomfort. And this pandemic caused some people enough to be pushed by discomfort and realizing that they stepped out. My friend Darrell, they were already planning it, so it was kind of a pull by vision, but it just so timed that they went live with this company that was promoting them right at the time they locked down with the pandemic. So this 400 to 600 that was normal on Good Friday, not Good Friday, but Palm Sunday, following right before Easter on Palm Sunday, they had 5,000 people viewing. That's pretty good. That's a good increase. 1 week later, on Easter Sunday, they had over 15,000 viewing. Today, he has over 30,000 people viewing their broadcast every week. 30,000 individuals viewing it. All of those aren't in the United States. Belize, he has a large following in Belize for some reason. Okay, and other areas. That's an English-speaking country. But he's getting 30,000 people, and not only that, they're donating and they're supporting his church. So sometimes when we look at conditions, we can let them push us down, or we can ride that wave up and know that there's always something better. Let me get back to my questions. Because the first one, how do you view yourself? Formed by conditions and circumstances as an individualization of that, or spirit individualized. The second one, Am I judging from the viewpoint of separation, circumstances, conditions, or am I seeing as God sees? Wow. Now, some people love to get on this judge not thing, right? Everybody loves to say that. And it's probably one of the most misunderstood things, because then someone makes a statement and everybody says, oh, well, you're judging. Well, if you have a preference, if you say that chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla ice cream, you've just made a judgment. You have. One's better than the other. You can, but what that's really talking about when it's talking about not judging is not being condemning, and also about seeing the divine in everything. Now, I don't know the age of my audience watching online, but for those of you who are old enough to remember, there was a program called Hee Haw that was done here in Nashville. I see some people nodding their heads. And Archie Campbell was on it. For those of you old enough to remember, Archie Campbell and Roy Clark. And Archie would play a barber, and they were always going into the barber shop in this little skit. And there was one skit that they did, and I forget all of the steps in it, but Archie says something, and Roy says, oh, that's bad. And Roy said that, and Archie said, no, that's good. And he'd say, why is that? And he would give a reason why it was good. And there was, toward the end of it, this I do remember, there was an airplane involved in this wild little comic tale, and he fell out of the airplane, you know, falling toward the ground. And Roy said, well, that's bad. And Archie said, no, that's good. He said, why? He said, because there was a haystack right below me. He says, well, that's good. And he said, no, that's bad. He said, why's that? He said, there was a pitchfork sticking in the haystack. Well, that's bad. No, that's good. Because he missed the haystack. And I forget, it went on and on. But if we can look at every condition and every circumstance, and instead of looking for a reason to be in misery, looking for it as an opportunity, we begin to find that purpose of expressing all that life is. It's about looking and saying, that's good. Finding the good in everything. Knowing if we look and we quit talking or thinking of God and think as God, because we are God in expression, individualized expressions. So if we begin to not just look for God, but to begin to see things as Spirit sees them, to see only the good and the perfect. Next question. Have I surrendered my divine birthright, or am I claiming everything that's rightfully mine? Have I surrendered my divine birthright? One of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes, I've said it from this platform many times over the years, and I use it often. And he said, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. All right? Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. I love that. You know, I wish we had enough people in here that I could have everybody say it. All right? Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. That includes me, and that includes you. Freedom is our birthright. Joseph Murphy, well, I happen to really enjoy his writings, he said that our birthright, and I'm paraphrasing him, our birthright is to be happy, prosperous, successful in every part of life. So have we embraced that, and we know that it is our right? And the next question is, do I need to be awakened to a greater idea of myself? Do I need to be awakened to a greater idea of myself? Again, thinking not of God, but thinking as God. Thinking not of love, but thinking as love thinks. Seeing beyond what is and seeing the potential that we have, seeing the divine potential that's there. Many times we look at ourselves, and do we see ourselves still as those conditions I talked about in the first one? Can we take those off and understand that if there is a limitation, that it is, in my life, it's me. In your life, it's you. If that limitation is there, it is something that we've created. But the other portion of that, and the next question, is do we honor the teachings that we've had? Do we honor the teachings of the good and the great and put into practice spiritual truth? And I'm one of these that I believe spirituality should be practical. If it's something that can't make a difference in your life, then it's just talk. It's just something, an excuse to get together and to have time together. And that's good. We all enjoy time together, especially now that we are in this time that we're distanced. We all have begun to really love and appreciate even these times that we come together in smaller numbers and can see our friends. But have we so put our teachings into a practical use that they're not just a reason for us to come here on Sunday, but it's something that we put into practice every day of our lives? I'm reminded of a phone call that I got several years ago from a person who was, at that time, a practitioner, today a minister. And she wanted me to work with her on a particular issue she was having, and it was something that was physical. But she didn't want me to work as a practitioner or treatment or minister. She wanted me to do hypnosis with her. And for those of you who know me, I've done that for many years. And I really didn't want to. It was someone who was closer to me, and because it's just not a good practice with people that you're close to any more than you would want your perhaps your doctor to be your brother or something. Anyway, I really didn't want to, and my words to her were this: have you done prayer treatment around this? Now I'm saying this to a practitioner, and she says, oh, well, yeah, but this is physical. And my first thought was that I can't be hearing these words from a practitioner. All of New Thought was founded with people who had physical demonstrations. And automatically, so was the teaching something that could have been practically applied. Now, if those of you who may be watching or listening to this, we go to doctors, and if you have a problem, I'm going to listen like in the pandemic. I'm listening to what the science says. I'm listening to what the doctors say. But we also have our teaching, and we know that our teaching works. Can we apply our spirituality every day? Are we doing that? And if we really want to be living our purpose, we apply it. It's not just theory. Now, if you want to know if you're doing that, you can ask if your present reality, is it happy? Is it healthy? Is it abundant? Is it loving? Is it loved? Because we know if it's not, if you keep doing everything you've done, you get the same results. It doesn't change. But if we can change our thinking and change the consciousness, then we begin to change things, and that's when we begin waking up. If you do these things, you'll find that you'll have a new awareness. A new awareness that the kingdom of infinite life is within everyone, not just ourselves. But life will become, well, let me back up on that. The kingdom of infinite life is in everyone, but everyone is not conscious of that. This morning, as I was getting my mic on, and I was sharing with AJ, our sound person today, doing a great job with that. And obviously, this wasn't in my notes, but we talked about this thing that people think there has to be an other. There has to be us versus them. If you begin to wake up to your purpose, all of those barriers begin to break down, and you recognize this infinite life in everyone. I had a statement that I used for years, and people would say, "How are you?" And I would say, "Well, I'm fabulous, and so are you." And to the point I began to be known for saying that. And someone asked one time, says, "Well, why do you tell me how I'm doing?" And I said, "Because people don't mind how far you push yourself up as long as you take them with you. And if I can see something wonderful in myself, that can just lead me on an ego trip. But if I can see it in everyone, then I'm awakening to a spirituality." So again, an awareness, a new awareness comes. Secondly, life becomes an adventure. I love that Terry McBride referred to life as a joyous adventure. And that is really what it becomes, because we wake up to this and we begin to see the miraculous. I won't call it a miracle because there's only the operation of divine law, but we begin to see the miraculous unfold in our lives. Things begin happening in ways that we before questioned if they really could, as we awaken more to truth. Life becomes more fun. You learn it as a way to find a life that has joy and fulfillment in it. And then when you have this positive purpose, you have something that allows you to live with greater commitment. There are so many stories, and I knew that I wouldn't have time to stay within a decent time limit today and give them, but we have so many stories of people who were in a mine and dug for years, and they stopped just a few feet short of gold or diamonds or whatever. Those stories are there, and we're familiar with them. But the truth is, when we have purpose and we're unfolding that in every area of our life, because remember what I said earlier, it doesn't have to be your job that is purpose. You can express your divine purpose in any and in everything you do. It's always there to be expressed. And when we do, we have something that lets us stick to what we're doing because we're finding fulfillment. We're finding joy in it. And even when you find so many today, everyone gets, if you've never been approached by a multi-level marketer, you must have been in seclusion a lot longer than the COVID virus, okay? Because everybody gets solicited by someone they know in a multi-level. And a few years ago, these multi-levels started asking you a question. And they said, "What is your why? You want to make this a success. Why?" And that, when you have that why, it gives you a reason to stick to it and to work toward a goal. So, today, if you have a goal, ask yourself, why? Find if there's something that aligns it, that allows you to be in alignment with true purpose. Even when I was fortunate enough to be in a small conversation with several people who were leaders within different New Thought movements, CSL, Unity, the Universal Foundation for Better Living, and myself. And there's something that these groups are doing. It's actually wonderful. This is, again, something I'll add, and that is they're looking at ways to collaborate. Ways to collaborate, not about everybody becoming just one organization, but about collaboration. As I say, everyone's individual. They learn and they accept things in different ways. That's why there's CSLN and there's Unity of Nashville, because while they're teaching the same basic truths, they have different cultures and they have different ways, and people receive in different ways, so everyone has a purpose, all right? But to collaborate and to work together on something that will become similar to a podcast, and this is going to be a multi-organizational type thing. And as it unfolded, one of my dear friends says, we have to answer one question, though. To what end? What is our real purpose in this? It can't be just to have a podcast or just to have this thing that we do. What is the end goal of it? And again, it comes back to our true purpose when we start doing that. But it gives us a way of sticking to what we've chosen. We have a positive expectancy when we do these things. When we ask ourselves these questions, we begin to have an expectancy of positive results. And we have gratefulness. So we begin to be grateful for what we already have, and as we do, that gratefulness just washes out and makes room for more good to flow to us. The more grateful we are, the more room we have. Robert Browning, and this is a paraphrase, said, "Our reach must be higher than our grasp." Our reach must be higher than our grasp. And what exactly does that mean? Sometimes you have to unbox something a little bit. We have to be able to reach beyond that we've already laid hold to. We have to be able to go beyond what we've already done, at least with what we can reach and begin to touch. Because at some place our grasp has to go a little further. If there's infinite possibility, we have to be able to at least reach beyond that we've already firmly held on to and know that there's always greater possibilities. So I call this our purpose, our awakened mind. And I'll close with something that comes from J. Scott Neal. He says, our awareness as the awakened mind in action allows us to free ourselves into the now. Allows us to free ourselves into the now. We must know without doubt that we are greater, wiser, more intelligent, powerful, and loving than we ever let ourselves think we are. If you want to really know the power that purpose can have in your life, begin to draw purpose from that realization. He went on to say, now comes the courage to be what we think we know. The courage to be what we think we know. This is letting go and being awakened inspiration in action. This is the power of purpose. Thank you. And so it is.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Reverend Tim. That was wonderful and so inspiring. And now, as they get ready, we get to welcome back Gordon Ellis and the band again. Thank you.
Okay. Ready? Thank you. Okay. Hang on.
We're going to take a minute to get combobulated. You've heard of discombobulated, right? So.
Did you want to acknowledge co-writer?
No, that was on the other side. I didn't get the chance to.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Well, you count it off.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've heard it said when a door closes on you, one more will open in time. There have been times when I found something better after losing what I thought was mine. Now once again there's a dark cloud above me, and I'm bracing for bitter winds. But in my soul there's a voice softly saying something good's gonna come from this. And I believe that there's more to this life than we can see. Oh, I can't really say what it is, but something good's gonna come from this. My friend, I see in your eyes that you're troubled. I won't pretend to know what's best. Let's take some time just to know for each other something good's gonna come from this. 'Cause I believe I believe that there's more to this life than we can see. Oh, I can't really say what it is, but something good's gonna come from this. And I believe that there's more to this life than we can see. Oh, I can't really say what it is, but something good's gonna come from this. I believe, yes, I believe that there's more to this life than we can see. Well, I can't really say what it is, but something good's gonna come from this. Oh no, I can't really say what it is, but I know something good's gonna come from this.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. That was great. Thank you, band. So nice to have y'all here.
Thank you, Laura.
And wasn't that very Nashville? I just love it. And so now something good is going to come from this. We have the opportunity right now to do an offering. And you can do this. You'll see on your screen a place that you can go online and donate to this teaching and to this church and to help keep it going so that you can hear more music and more great speakers like Tim. So I would like you to join me with this offering message. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. So please make a contribution online in the description below, or mail your check to our street address. And now, I'm pleased to be able to introduce one of our board members, Kate Prentice, who has a message for us and the announcements. Kate?
Thank you, Laura. I want to thank Reverend Tim. That was a great message. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Gordon. Lovely music. We're so glad to be able to share that today. I want to thank Reverend Lynn for all he's doing. You can't see them, but there's a great team in the back working really hard to make sure that this message goes out. And we have little glitches every now and then, but I kind of believe that every now and then with technology, for me anyway, that's just what happens. And so I appreciate your understanding and to know that we're doing everything we can to make this work. I think that Reverend Lynn is going to put up something about giving right now, just to remind you. Reverend Laura, thank you so much for what you just said, and for that great lead into this. Guys, I know that talking about money is not your favorite thing to hear, but on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to really emphasize that in this time when we are not together, separate, that there are certain things that must go on. Just because people are not in the building all the time doesn't mean that we are at zero expense. In fact, we still have a lot of expenses. The HVAC just kicked on, and it makes me think that if we don't have some kind of climate control within this building, our building begins to deteriorate, and eventually that means that we have to spend more to renovate or to correct the problems that happen when the humidity gets too high and wood begins to deteriorate and things like that. So we don't have a choice about that. we need a good electronic system in this house in order to broadcast to you, and that ain't cheap. We may hope, we may think because we can't see it that it doesn't cost anything, but it does. We don't have a large minister's salary going out anymore, but we have a couple of people who are on staff still who need to be paid. They're performing really essential services for us, for this center. And for, I might add, a very small amount of money. And we need to make sure that we can do that. We are at the point that everything that you can possibly give is important. I understand that that this COVID pandemic has hit a lot of people directly in the pocketbook. And I'm not asking by any means for you to divert your rent money or your grocery money or anything like that to this center. But if you have discretionary funds that you have been storing away, this might be a good moment to break out some of those. If you believe, as I do, that this message that we're putting out to our members, our visitors, and to the world is essential and important, then think of this as an essential service, and please give. I believe that the slide that you saw talked about giving online and giving by check. Write a check and send it to our address. If you're not comfortable doing either one of those things, I'll tell you that around lunchtime on Thursday, Debbie and I are usually here. And if you want to drop by and drop off a check, that would be fabulous. If you don't like any of those options, call me and I will come and pick up your donation if it takes that. We really do want to continue to be a viable center of spiritual living. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. We appreciate the announcements and your words, and we appreciate you and the work the board is doing to keep this center going. And so many people are doing such wonderful work right now, and we're learning all kinds of new things, and we're learning how to have a new purpose and to be able to broadcast our message every week on YouTube, and that's a wonderful new thing, and we're getting new viewers, and the viewers go up every week. It's quite all the contributions of everyone in this room and everyone in this church are so welcomed, and we're so thankful for this. And now I'm going to do a closing treatment. And I invite you to know this with me. I know that there is one loving, infinite power of God that is an infinite mind that is within our mind, that is guiding us, and that compels us to our purpose. And that we know that every one of us, viewing and listening today, we are one with this Spirit. It dwells within us. It is at the core of our being. It fills us with light and love and natural health. And we remember this. And it gives us confidence. Because the nature of intelligence of God within us expresses through us as what we should do next. And we find great confidence in this. We know that no matter what is going on in the world today, viruses, economic troubles, that we can turn away from this knowing that the Spirit of God is guiding us and telling us exactly what to do next, and that we allow this to be so, and we feel this compelling nature within us. It is our purpose. It is this light within us that surrounds us with its grace We're so thankful. We know that God loves us, for we are its beloved creation. Thank you, oh dear Mother, Father God, for always being with us no matter what. And we thank you for this. I know that this, my word, is true as I speak it, in your name, and together, and so it is. Thank you.
Living Nashville. May your life be filled with joy and prosperity in every way. Learn more about our programs or contact one of our practitioners at our website, cslnashville.org. You may also want to follow us on Facebook at CSLNASH. You can make a big difference with your financial gift at lovecsln.com. Please share the link to this program with a friend and join us again next Sunday. Have a wonderful week.